One problem for the agent trying to sell the stuffed shark was the $12 million asking price for this work of contemporary art. Another was that it weighed just over 2 tons and was not going to be easy to carry home. The taxidermy 15-foot tiger shark sculpture was mounted in a giant glass vitrine and creatively named The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living. The shark had been caught in 1991 in Australia and prepared and mounted in England by technicians working under the direction of British artist Damien Hirst. Another concern was that while the shark was certainly a novel artistic concept, many in the art world were uncertain whether it qualified as art. The question was important because $12 million represented more money than had ever been paid for a work by a living artist, other than Jasper Johns. More than for a Gerhard Richter, a Robert Rauschenberg, or a Lucian Freud. Why would anyone even consider paying this much money for the shark? Part of the answer is that in the world of contemporary art, branding can substitute for critical judgment, and lots of branding was involved here. The seller was Charles Saatchi, an advertising magnate and famous art collector, who 14 years earlier had commissioned Hirst to produce the work for £50,000. At the time, the sum was considered so ridiculous that The Sun heralded the transaction with the headline, "$50,000 for fish without chips." Hirst intended the figure to be an outrageous price, said as much for the publicity it would attract as for the monetary return. The agent selling the shark was New York-based Larry Gagosian, the world's most famous art dealer. One buyer known to be actively pursuing the shark was Sir Nicholas Sirota, director of London's Tate Modern Museum, who had a very constrained budget to work with. 4 collectors with much greater financial means had shown moderate interest. The most promising was American Steve Cohen, a very rich Connecticut hedge fund executive. Hirst, Saatchi, Gagosian, Tate, Sirota, and Cohen represented more art world branding than is almost ever found in one place. Saatchi's ownership and display of the shark had become a symbol for newspaper writers of the shock art being produced by the group known as the Young British Artists, the YBAs. Put the branding and the publicity together, and the shark must be art, and the price must not be unreasonable. There was another concern, serious enough that with any other purchase it might have deterred buyers. The shark had deteriorated dramatically since it was first unveiled at Saatchi's private gallery in London in 1992. Because the techniques used to preserve it had been inadequate, the original had decomposed until its skin became heavily wrinkled and turned a pale green. A fin had fallen off, and the formaldehyde solution in the tank had turned murky. The intended illusion had been of a tiger shark, swimming toward the viewer through the white space of the gallery, hunting for dinner. The illusion now was described as entering Norman Bates' fruit cellar and finding Mother embalmed in her chair.